All right, y'all. First and foremost, give all praise, all the glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and his son, Hamashiach, who some call Yahushua, Yeshua, Yehoshua, Yah. We mostly know as Jesus Christ. Got a short video here review from my brother Abu. You know, this brother clearly says he's the title says a white GMS camp leader in One West history. We're just gonna go through this a little through this and hear this brother's story and then do a little talking through it.
Of goodwill. So a few days ago, last Monday, the Kang Cadmus account put out a video titled, "I'm a former white black Hebrew Israelite cult leader." And so I wanted to show a few short clips from that video and ever so briefly discuss what wasn't said and why this particular gentleman in the
And y'all go over there to Abu's channel, man. Like, sub, subscribe. When it comes to that One West history, man, like I seen him, I don't know, it could have been about 15 years ago. No, like I see him in front of GMS camp. You know, going back and forth with Tahar and them. I don't even know if this was the time. I think you had to have like a camera back then. I don't know if you could have the phones. But it was very, 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 very long ago. And he kind of knows, you know, a lot more history than most Israelites. Shouts out to Truth Unedited too. He just dropped something about Israelites being connected to you know, Masons and so forth. Some of the earlier, you know, the FS Cherries and William Crowdies and so forth. And he has close to 1 million subscribers. But we may look into that, may not.
video has relevance to One West history. So with that, let's jump right in with a bit of an intro clip, which will run for a little over 30 seconds and fair use.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Fair use.
My name is Ron. Bro, I got like one of the best videos ever. I hope it doesn't get me in trouble because there is no ill intentions with this video. People just keep asking me questions. So everybody likes a good story. So I'll give you a good story. I am a former white black Hebrew Israelite cult leader. Yes. Now I was with Great Millstone here in Columbus, Ohio.
And a lot of times, man, these folks want us to think that these folks ain't who these folks are. Like, man, you know who these folks are. But brothers play that, oh man, you know, it's the spirit, man. You got to judge by the spirit, you know. And what's the meter for that? Like, you know, you don't know. For me, you just saying I don't know. You just got to accept these folks' words. And it's more and more of this inside of these camps. And brothers saying, well, we don't, man, we hate the white man. And we don't do it. Man, come on, man. Let's just stop playing, bro. Let's stop playing.
Okay, so that's how the video started, and the bulk of the rest of his video was him discussing his beliefs, which are apparently quasi-Marcionite at this point. But putting his current beliefs aside for a moment, as I noted at the start, in this video, I want to discuss his relevance to One West history. And this is worth documenting, as it seems that, with all due respect, within the Israelite spectrum, there is very little interest in the history of that spectrum. And so seemingly most of the folks who are within that spectrum are barely familiar with what was going on just a decade prior, or even a few years prior. For example, I've encountered more than a few Israelites who never heard of Tazadakia, right? They'll literally say, well, who's that? I never heard of him. You know, a man who was once one of the most well-known or even most infamous figures in the Israelite spectrum.
Probably had one of the biggest camps ever. But well, I don't know, because what I just learned too about William Crowdy is that he had 37,000 members, almost 250 different tabernacles across America. But I need to fact check that. You know, I didn't fact check Truth Unedited's information with that, but That's what he was saying. That he had over 38,000 members. But anyway, this brother here had a Passover one. And when you see all the folks marching and all that stuff and turning, and man, he got that from him. I think, well, it was in the first school. I think it was in the ISUP, you know, that first, that one West initially. But the way he did it, man, it seemed like it was 1,000 people, man. Like 30, 40 minutes for all them folks to get down there for Passover. Even had all the kids dressed up, man. It was and I think everybody is trying to get back to that point. Trying to get to that point where he had Boys to Men doing a concert at the Passover also. It was crazy.
Is now a complete unknown to many people today because, I mean, honestly, many are only focused on the current moment.
And that's the brother that everybody called the Comforter. All right, even Arya, the main person who developed this One West doctrine as it is today, you know, kind of updated and got it more into the New Testament, because initially it wasn't dealing with the New Testament. He vouched for that brother and said he was the Holy Spirit.
You know, in conjunction with their private interpretations or the private interpretations of their particular group, right? But let's talk about the significance of the man on your screen, Aaron, or as he humorously said, Aaron, also known as Kang Cadmus, or as he used to call himself, Rex Scientia, right? He's the former leader of GMS's Columbus, Ohio camp. And here's one way that he's relevant to One West history, which wasn't touched on in his video. He's arguably the Israelite who inspired Vocab Malone to start focusing on the Israelite spectrum. You see, back around...
So this is an origin story. This ended up turning into an origin story for Vocab Malone. That this brother was running that GMS camp out there in Ohio. And that's what I'm saying. GMS was out there. You know, I remember even Chief Priest Gorilla Hebrew was saying that that's how he came in, seeing a World Star video of GMS. All right, GM and Elder Tahar was the next in line after that ISUPK split. He has the higher ranking. When Bishop and General Yohana and Bishop Nathaniel and Daniela and Maharakar and Tazadak, the Holy Comforter, and once that split, Elder, when all of them was in the same body or whatever, once it split, Tahar was the next in charge. He was supposed to be the next in line. Anyway.
2011, this man was going to churches and picking arguments with pastors, and Vocab caught wind of that because it was happening in and around the city that he was from. You see, from Vocab's perhaps earliest impression of the Israelite spectrum and his earliest impression of the situation, he saw an issue that was not being addressed by Christian apologists, right? Basically, a new religious movement which was going out of its way to pick arguments with Christianity. And so Vocab decided that he would start looking at Hebrew Israelites. So for all you Israelites who dislike Vocab and his work and how much attention he pays to the Israelite spectrum, the man on your screen, whom you might be unfamiliar with, played a significant role in Vocab turning his attention to the Israelites. That aside, on a perhaps less significant...
Another thing, Vocab just did a video with two Israelites that had, you know, a couple that just left IUIC that had some offenses. And I wasn't even gonna speak on it because, you know, a lot of people when they leave organization they have offenses, but the fact that IUIC came behind that and tried to do a video last night on it, I was like, come on, y'all. It's one couple leave. People gonna leave and say something, but the fact that they had to do that makes me question and you know, kind of bring maybe some truth to what those folks were saying. They were like, man, we sit in the dorm. We would go to the school and basically there ain't no teacher. They just watching the film. I remember going to a church, you know, in my 20s, early 20s, that was like that, where the sermon was put on the screen. Man, I was like, oh, I ain't never coming back here. But they said they sat there on the Shabbat for 8 hours, just watching the screen. And they had a friend they brought with them, and the friend, kind of just got up, ended up leaving. It was like, man, I can't just sit there 8 hours watching no screen, and you can't ask questions and so forth. Da, 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 da. Anyway,
note, it could be
y'all go check out that
this
video.
man was also a sort of catalyst for GMS's hate campaign against Zabach. Now, as a disclaimer, I'm not saying that it's Aaron's fault, right? I'm not blaming him for that campaign. On the contrary, Tahar had long been picking arguments, very acrimonious arguments, with other Israelites as part of like an attempt to distinguish GMS from all the other groups. So it was, just a matter of time before he got around to Zabach. But it could still be said that one of Aaron's videos was the spark that happened to set that inevitability off, So I'd like to take a moment to tell that story, to submit it into the record, lest, it be forgotten, lost to history. You see, this gentleman had a video in which he was arrested by the police while holding camp, right? You see, the cops took issue with the language that he was using while he was holding camp, and when he was in the midst of saying, basically he said, we have freedom of speech, so I can say F the police, and he didn't just say the letter F, he said the full word, and while he was like right in the midst of saying that, F the police, the cop grabbed him by the throat and, mid-sentence and arrested him on camera, and he uploaded the video. And Zabach left a comment on that video declaring, quote, "That's what happens when Edomites put on the garments," end quote. And
we always do that. Anytime we see brothers get into some situation, and it's a situation, especially if it's a situation like this, we're still doing stuff like this. If brothers have, brothers that look like this brother in their camp, brothers is gonna say that, well, that's what happened. That's what y'all get for something bad happened to that camp. They gonna, that's what y'all get for having that darn Edomite in there, man. You shouldn't have had the Edomite there. And like I say, it's getting more. I done seen them in Wi-Fi. I done seen them in it's a few other camps. I don't even know the name of them. But it was that one camp that it was a young white YouTuber. I forget his name, but he went viral. He got over 1 million views on that video and that interaction that he had with Israelites. They wear purple. What is it? Purple and black? Could have been close like that. Yeah, I think they were purple and black. I'm actually making a purple and black garment now. It might be for that particular group. But they got a brother in there that looks. But what can you do? You don't know. You know what I'm saying? And the more we humble down and just realize that, man, you just don't know. Maybe things will begin to shift, but we pretending now. I'm just be 100. We're pretending. I can't say nothing. Who gonna go up and say something? Who gonna go up to that camp and be like, hey man, y'all got that brother's a Edomite. I need to see da. Man, y'all come on now.
A number of GMS accounts were clearly infuriated by that and, started responding furiously and calling Zabach a Hamite and cursing at him and all sorts of things like that. And honestly, some of those accounts may have been run by the GMS leadership. But whatever the case, from then onwards, GMS had like a years-long campaign against Zabach, accusing him of all sorts of things. And humorously, Yohana, the leader of ISUPK, actually commented indirectly on that fiasco. He did so without mentioning specifically Zabach, but nonetheless, in a video from around that time, like 2011, 2012, Yohana made a passing reference to the white leader of the GMS camp in Ohio. And he said, I remember him saying, let me tell you something, man. Tahar loves that white boy. And then he repeated it with like more emphasis. He said, Tahar loves that white boy, right? And at the time, it seemed clear that Yohana was alluding to how you can set Tahar off by daring to speak ill of his quote-unquote white disciple in Ohio. And he was saying that, tacitly against the backdrop of GMS going after Zabach for doing precisely that. And roughly a decade later, Elazar Ben Loya, the leader of Sakari, recounted how when he was with GMS, that campaign against Zabach had a significant influence on him and on his thinking. Here, consider this quick clip.
Right? And that's some of the errors that the elder and apostles of Great Millstone led the men up under him to do, is going out of their way to justify hatred towards brothers, right? You taught me hatred towards people that I never knew, right? You taught me hatred towards people that I had never knew on false accusations that y'all forwarded against them. That's a real thing, right? That is a very real thing.
And that's really where I want to stop at. Again, it's not another 7 minutes on this thing, man. Y'all go over there, check out the rest of the video. But a lot of y'all are getting inside of these camps, and you're taking on certain feuds, certain animosity. That's 20 that might be going on before you were born, especially for you, my young brothers and sisters. You're taking on these beasts. You don't even know how they started, how they came on. It's a great example of that. And he inheriting a beef, just like getting into these gangs. You're inheriting a beef. You have no idea where that beef is stemming from. You have no idea why, General Yohana, I'm in the ISUPK, IURC, been beefing. They've been beefing before the inception, before there was an IURC. But you don't know that. You don't know what happened when they was in the school together. When they were side by side teaching on the line. When they were told and commanded to do something that they may have not liked, and how somebody told them to do something. You wasn't there. You have no idea. And they not explaining it. They're not explaining it. But you're going to see more and more of this stuff come out. More and more shots going to be fired with brothers who try to do this. Like I said, I would have said, 5-6 years ago, you wouldn't have seen nothing like this. But yeah. Yeah. Brothers was tempted. I remember brothers was questioning the brother we had in the camp. And he had got questioned. He had left a few other camps, and he was getting questioned there. And when you do give off that blackity black, we the people. When somebody looks over at that camp and sees, well, wait a minute now, or even sees these two brothers, he got, Hassan got he got his fro out. I ain't gonna say little fro. He fro it out. And all I got a mighty beard going, but it don't look black. Don't look, and they can take a shot. It look black, but it don't really look black. And, they take a shot and say, hey, well, you got something mixed with you and da-da-da-da-da. But those are dialogues people want to have out there. Those are dialogues that people want. And I say, man, we're seeing this more and more. And these are things that we're going to have to work through. And eventually it'll get us to a point where, it won't matter. You know what I'm saying? We'll let brothers want to join. If these other nations want to join in, and we can all teach together and show love and show unity. But I don't think it'll grow without that. But I do see that happening. You could tell me he was from Ireland, and where the Ireland and the Scottish are really Israelites and all that, but it don't matter to me. With my understanding, it don't matter. But we'll see where we at. We'll see where we at in the next 5. Y'all willing. Pray this thing was edifying. Y'all be blessed. Shalom.